On one side, there is a project which is associated with economic policies, which you might call neoliberalism with force. This kind of politics, neoliberal politics, is represented very strongly by, countries like Colombia has been a big exemplar of this kind of policy. In other countries, there are governments that are in and out of power. And on the other side, there is a kind of progressive, maybe populist stance where they're more open to policies that are favorable to working people, policies that are favorable to independence and sovereignty. These would be Venezuela, Chavez's government of Venezuela, and some governments that are again in and out of power, whether it's there's Cuba as another example, but there are other governments that are and parties in the hemisphere. Jean-Bertrand Aristide was on that side of the spectrum. He was definitely somebody who believed in the power of popular mobilization. Their economic program of his party, Lavalas, was based on lifting people from absolute misery to poverty with dignity. They wanted a higher minimum wage. There was a range of progressive policies, and in putting himself on that side of the spectrum, he made himself in Haiti an enemy of these regressive and reactionary and neoliberal forces. That's the way I would summarize the situation.
And so, but to go to the point of removing a president, there must have been a threat to the United States, France, and Canada. How can Haiti represent a threat to these countries?
Yeah, it's true that there was a threat, but I don't think it was any kind of threat in the way that that you would understand. Like there was certainly no military threat. There was not even really a political threat, but there's a kind of a symbolic threat. And the reason I say that is because it's a threat specifically because if one of the poorest countries in the poorest country in the hemisphere can do these things, can take steps towards independence, can align itself with these countries that are also on the side of independent development, then it sends a message to other places, to Jamaica, to Brazil, to Chile, to all of these other countries that are up for grabs in this game. There's an economist named Mark Weisbrot who said something like, this is a game of chess. The United States always sees its foreign policy in terms of a game of chess, and in a game of chess, pawns matter. So even though Haiti doesn't have tremendous natural resources, Haiti has always been a symbol of independence. It's from the revolution. So Haiti had a revolution at the same time as the U.S. and France had their revolutions in the 18th century, but Haiti's revolution was real. Those countries said we believe in equality and fraternity and liberty, but they continued to have slaves and support the slave trade. Haiti said that we believe in these ideals, and they got rid of slavery. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge. In a way, you could see that as a threat, but it's really a threat to hypocrisy, and it's a threat to it's a threat to those who would impose their will and enslave other peoples.
Jean-Bertrand Aristide was removed. He was in exile for over 7 years in South Africa, and Jean-Claude Duvalier returned, and the current president in the elections that the UN organized is a former Duvalierist, and you were talking about new dictatorship. What is the outcome of that coup in 2004 if we're looking at the results today?
Well, yeah, this is to defend my choice of title, the idea that, yeah, like you said, there have been elections, right? There were elections in 2011-12, there were elections in 2006, and so how can we call it a dictatorship? Well, a dictatorship is a situation in which people don't control their own affairs. So today, the streets of Haiti are patrolled by United Nations troops. The budgets of Haiti are controlled by foreign donors and a reconstruction commission in the UN. Economic elections are essentially overseen and vetted by and through their embassy and through the Organization for American States. So in the sense that people have no real sovereignty, they don't make any decisions, the people's will is not heard on any decisions, and then beyond, you can go even beyond that. So take the old dictatorship, like you said, Michel Martelly was associated with the Duvalier dictators who ruled Haiti from the 50s to the 80s.